Oh, yeah, we are rolling on with weather wagers. I am a meteorologist, Brett Thacker, joined as always by meteorologist Dan Tomaso, and we are here for week number 4. We have a laundry list of topics to discuss, and
Oh,
of course,
don't we ever?
we will make our picks for this week as well. What a fun week it has been, and we've unfortunately not got a lot of weather to talk about. I will tell you, though, each week so far of this season, whether it has been college games getting delayed or the NFL last week. Did you see the Bears game?
That was unreal. I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I
Yeah.
wish he would have went to Penn State, but he was just slipping and sliding all over Soldier Field.
It was like when we were kids, and they looked like they were having big fun out there. Now, they put new turf down on Soldier Field. Apparently, I'm not sure it was able to drain off the water, but man,
They
oh,
were
man.
squeegeeing it out during the
and
game.
They just slid right down there. So I got to tell you what, it was a fun game to watch, but a lot of lightning delays, a lot of weather has come into play here so far in this early football season.
Yes, indeed. And again, there may not be a whole lot going on this week, but I will tell you, as it gets deeper into the season and these games matter more and more, weather will be a factor, win or lose for your respective team.
It sure will. So, again, Weather Wagers, Brett Thacker, Dan Tomaso with you. You can find us everywhere. We are on abc27.com. You have to go there to get the column, and we write our thoughts about each of these games
summaries
that
there.
we pick. So that's where you can go to find the column, abc27.com, Weather Wagers. And then we're on Apple. We're on Spotify.
All those sources right there.
We're going to be on YouTube. We've got our Facebook and Twitter pages. You can look us up, Meteorologist Brett Thacker, Meteorologist Dan Tomaso. We're on Amazon, right? All of the
We're on
podcasting.
Amazon, Google. So your favorite podcast source is Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple. All there for you, all there for the taking.
So we've got a lot of topics to discuss, but first, as always, we want to go back and review last week with our picks. And once again, it wasn't great. I can tell you that.
But again, it is all early. I'm sure many of you at home did not see a lot of the outcomes that happened this past week. I don't think Jimbo saw what happened to his squad coming.
No, a lot of you pick games for fun. I know we do. A lot of you, again, may bet on some of these games. And if you do, it was a rough week for many. I know we talk about College Game Day. The Bear did not have a good week.
No,
Chris
he did
Felica
not.
did not have a good week last week. So I will tell you, when we look ahead, the Alabama game stands out. I want to talk about your thoughts on that in just a bit.
Sure.
A lot of people missed that. They didn't really show up. Tennessee got the win there.
Yes.
Barely.
Barely. But they did it.
They did it. Kentucky just going into the swamp. How about that?
It's impressive. What Stoops is doing with Will Levis is nothing short of impressive in the SEC.
And I liked Will Levis when he was at Penn State,
too.
but I think he's a big physical guy. The Jaguars let us down. Jahan Dotson looking good for the Commanders.
And Carson Wentz looking good for the Commanders.
Yeah,
Did not see that
He
coming.
always looks good week 1. you know that. Let's see if he's still standing in
That's
week
right.
5. We differed on the Mississippi State-Arizona pick. Good pick, Mike Leach going out west.
Love Mike Leach.
Getting the win. And then I went 3 for 3 in my Brett's Best last week.
It's almost like you knew what you were doing.
It's almost like I knew what I was doing. Well, I definitely knew what I was doing in the Iowa game. And how about what were the Broncos doing?
It looked like Iowa's offense, which there was no offense.
It was inept.
We have a fan of the Broncos here in this building. He will remain nameless. But I was telling him yesterday, I said I was worried at the end of Russell's career in Seattle. Did Seattle have a Russell problem? And is now that problem with the Denver Broncos? Because similar to how Carson Wentz's career kind of unfolded at the end for the Eagles, I feel like Russell Wilson is seeing ghosts in the backfield.
Well, he might be, but also Russell Wilson, it was also the coaching and the time clock management. We
Not
talk
good.
about that.
Not good.
It wasn't good. I heard Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on SportsCenter were saying they didn't know why the field goal team
64-yarder, right?
was trotting out there at the end of the game. It was a bizarre ending. So where does that leave us for our totals, Dan, and our records
not
so
much
far?
movement here, honestly, because we both ended up with the same record this week. You're sitting at just under 500.
Yeah.
Kind of the way the Phillies
10 and
had their
13.
first
It's
half
not
of the
been
season.
great. Yeah.
And then there's me. I'm hanging tough at 13 and 10. I'm a wild card team at this point.
You just flip them. So, but I like it. Now, for those of you that haven't listened yet, we do have our personal wager.
We
This
definitely
is
do.
a pie in the face. So the loser at the end of the year, we're going through the football season. We're going to talk about different kinds of sports, too. We always do a little MLB check-in. I think we'll feature some MLB games for the playoffs, too. But the loser, worst record, gets a pie in the face.
And pie is still to be determined, but we talked about all sorts of pies last week.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I think, too, we're going to make our own side wagers going forward. If there's a call that one of us just thinks is outrageous, I think we have to make a side wager depending on what happens in these games.
I may wager that Iowa doesn't score a touchdown the rest of the year on offense because that's the way it's trending.
Somehow they're gonna surprise us.
I like picking at Kurt Ferentz and his son because I don't know what's going on there, but it ain't good.
Well, it's nepotism at its
It is
worst,
nepotism,
and
yes.
we're going to get into that. So let's talk about a couple of things here before we do anything else. And this is kind of our news and notes at the beginning. We like to talk about this. Penn State going on the road. It's one of our games of the week. Going down to Jordan-Hare Stadium this week. Give me the review of how you thought they looked against an inferior opponent last week, but I think we saw some flashes there.
So I was there, and I will say I don't want to blow up Nick Singleton too much. Obviously, over 150 yards rushing, their first 100-yard rusher since the pandemic, I believe. So the biggest thing I saw was speed, whether it was Nick Singleton, fastest guy on the field in my opinion, Parker Washington, very fast in person, and their wide receiver core. They have a lot of young guys that they're kind of plugging and playing there in the 4, 5, 6 positions. It looks like a deep unit. Now, again, that was against the Ohio secondary, but that speed matters when it comes to games like Ohio State, when they have just as much speed on the field.
We have seen Penn State play inferior opponents the last several years, and we've gotten off to these very slow starts because we couldn't run the ball.
Right.
When you saw Nick Singleton take the corner, it just looked different.
And
it
this
looked
kind of
different.
fits the line scheme. Now, I'm not a big offensive line guru when it comes to, the pushing and the pulling and the blocking schemes.
Right, and how they do the X's and O's.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know Penn State's been criticized for more of a finesse line, but if you do have more of a finesse line in terms of whatever scheme they're running, but you have a fast back, all of a sudden that offensive line looks better.
Correct.
And so maybe this is kind of the missing ingredient that maybe it wasn't always the big uglies up front. Maybe it was a little bit of what was in the backfield, too.
I think it was a little bit of everything, and I think that's a fair point. What was the atmosphere like up there?
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
My God, temperatures near 80 degrees. It was a beautiful day for football. It's going to be a little bit warmer. We'll get to the weather for the Auburn game. But I think they're going to be ready for the elements because it was warm in State College.
Yeah, but it was a nice day.
They have a lot of guys they can rotate in now. A lot of guys have gotten game experience, and it was fun to see everybody. I mean, there was an audible cheer for Drew Aller in the stadium when everyone realized who it was. And one thing about that freshman.
It's nice to have a plan B.
Yes, and a big plan B because the man is tall. There's a noticeable difference between him and Clifford when they're on the field.
In many ways.
Very true.
But last question. You got a chance to go into James Franklin's presser.
Yes.
That was a neat experience. You're going to maybe do more of that for us during this season. We'll see. But what was he like? Pretty happy?
Happy but
testy?
Intense.
Yeah, interesting.
He's
he knows.
very intense this year. And he's playing a game here, and I think you understand this game, that now that they do have two quarterbacks, they do have multiple running backs at a high level, he's toting the line. He's not saying Christian Veillere is QB3. He's not saying Drew Aller's QB2. He's trying to get these guys into games, and that screams to me he realizes the error of their ways with the transfer portal. They let Will Levis go. Now, he had every right to do it, but they probably could have kept him happier in some way, shape, or form. And I think he's trying to toe that line. Like, he knows they're 2 injuries away from having to put the third stringer in. Texas is in that situation. I'm going to bring that point up a little bit later on, but it's important to keep these guys fluid and happy.
It's going to be fascinating. We're going to talk about the Auburn game coming up, but I want to get to the Alabama-Texas game from
How
last
about
week.
that?
Alabama looking very tough. So you had the Alabama struggles. You had Jimbo losing. All I kept thinking was I cannot wait for the Feinbaum show this week.
And how was that?
Well, I'll tell you what. Yesterday, and we're recording this on Wednesday, Pete Golding's father, Alabama's defensive coordinator, called into the Feinbaum show and threatened a fan.
This is college football at its finest.
It just means more.
Yep.
But let's talk about Alabama. Not only did they not cover, they looked sloppy.
Struggled on offense.
A lot of penalties. Texas, meanwhile, looked like they were pushing them around a bit. Nick usually has a game like this every year where it's a little bit of a wake-up call.
And he likes having a game like this.
He likes having a game like this. He uses that to his advantage.
Right.
But I guess my question to you is, are there bigger problems for Alabama?
Well, I'm thinking now, and I didn't think it was going to be Texas, but whether it's Georgia, whether it's USC, Notre Dame even, I know they're not off to a great start, but
They're off to a disastrous start.
With the transfer portal, it's got to affect the way Saban has had a stranglehold on talent. Not all the talent can go to the Crimson Tide now. I'm thinking there's a better distribution of talent across the board, and perhaps, finally, the total domination is over. We'll
but
see.
could
Obviously,
the
they can
argument
pick
be
it up.
made that a lot of people are transferring to Alabama too?
Yes, well, that's true as well. And, I love Bill O'Brien, but that offense did not look sharp.
No, and that was something else. I hate to keep citing Feinbaum, but I will. I like the guy, and we love listening to his program. But he said, let's be honest, he didn't really call that great of a game.
Right. So could there be a little bit of trouble down there? Sure. But in general, I think they're going to be fine. They always seem to be fine.
Yep.
And again, he likes to use these games as a teaching moment.
All right, I'm going to go to Jimbo Fisher next. What is going on there? He looks lost.
And they are recruiting at a high level.
Doesn't matter.
Now, some of that could be what's the culture like? Are the kids focused?
Do you think Jimbo Fisher's stubborn?
Oh, 100%. His offense is stuck in the Jameis Winston era.
Okay.
Not much has changed.
Do you think that Jimbo Fisher then, rather than adapting to his players and going out and trying something new, is the type of guy that's going to throw his players under the bus and say they're not executing well?
Sure seems like that. If you listen to his press conference, he does not take any blame, which I think is a problem.
So they have – now I have to pull up their schedule here. I love playing this schedule.
I will say this much. I was disappointed in the way the Kellen Mond era went in Texas A&M. I actually thought he was similar in many ways to Jameis Winston, not the same level.
Do you think he needs to change quarterbacks from Haynes King?
I think either he needs to change quarterbacks or get someone in there that can be more creative as a play caller because it's vanilla.
Well, listen, this is the schedule. Okay,
It's a gauntlet.
They're
isn't
1-1. So this week, by the way, game day was supposed to go to Kyle Field for this big Miami game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game Fowler and Herb Street are calling.
Guess where they went
Ironically, they're now
instead?
going to App State.
And I love that.
Yeah.
What a program.
What a program.
town.
What a win. So
I don't know if you saw any of the video, but the students took over Boone.
It's going to be
control.
a great atmosphere Saturday morning,
Yeah.
but they cost themselves that game
Yes.
in College Station. Okay, Miami this week.
Oof.
Then they have to go to Jerry World to play Arkansas.
And the
You
Razorbacks
think that's
look
going to be
good.
easy?
No, it's not going to be easy.
Then they have to go to Mississippi State.
This could trend very poorly, very quickly.
Then they have to go to Alabama. After Saturday, they're not back in Kyle Field until the end of October.
This was a chance to kind of get right for them, and they certainly
Miami
did not get right.
Arkansas, Mississippi State, Alabama. I mean, this schedule does not get any better.
Now they always have a cupcake in November,
Yeah, they do, but they play at South Carolina, then on the 22nd.
So let me
that
ask
may be
you
their
this.
easiest game.
He just re-upped for 10 years. What happens if they are around 500? One side or the other?
Listen, I don't think they're going to do anything this year, but I will tell you, they are not going to be afraid to write a check
To get rid of him.
to get rid of him.
Look at what Nebraska did. Nebraska wrote a check when it could have been cut in half a week later.
Hold that thought. You're right, but this is they've got money.
They all have money.
They're not going to be afraid to get rid of Jimbo because you also have to entertain. And the product on that field Saturday
Not entertaining.
was brutal. So let's go to Scott. Let's go to Scott Frost. Trev Alberts, he's a Nebraska guy.
Yep.
We grew up watching Trev Alberts on
Yes.
ESPN late at night there. Trev comes in, basically kowtows to tradition and says, all right, I'm going to give Scott Frost another year. The buyout drops in October. They didn't wait, so they cost themselves, I think it was $7.5 million.
That's rough.
And they pulled the plug this weekend. But you know what? I think
It's
they
bad.
made the right call.
It's bad. Now,
Why let it linger? And you know what they didn't want? They have a game against Oklahoma this week. They didn't want that to be the story of the entire game because it would have been.
and you just watch. If it is truly a culture problem and now he's out, this could be a whale of a game. Maybe Nebraska comes out
It's going to
swinging.
be interesting. They've got an interim guy there in, I think, Mickey Joseph, who's going to come in and try to, really maybe change the culture a bit. Sometimes
Jumpstart
we saw it
things.
with the Phillies.
Yeah.
That's a little bit apples and oranges, but you can really change the whole temperament of a locker
With the
room.
voice change, yes.
Yep, it's a voice change.
And sometimes it's no fault of that particular coach. Sometimes the coach is too intense. Sometimes there's,
Yep.
a mismanagement or a miscommunication issue. I don't know what it is, but it's a shame. I thought the hire was solid. I thought they were going to be a thorn in everyone's side, especially for the Wisconsins and the Iowas of the world, but it's been anything but.
It's been sad because, again, that should be one of the stalwarts of the Big Ten.
Yes.
They don't need to compete every year, but they need to compete.
And with the transfer portal, they should have no trouble getting kids out to Lincoln.
Give me 3 names for that job that are realistic. So don't say Urban.
No, how about Clay Helton?
No, I don't think it's realistic.
But he's out there, and that name's going to be thrown out there.
Yeah, but he didn't see. He's going to have the same problem though, Dan. He did not recruit well.
Right.
You need a recruiter, and that's why I think I've heard Bill O'Brien's name mentioned.
Yep, I've
Listen,
heard that.
like him, tough guy. Didn't really recruit that well.
No, but he didn't like it.
No, he didn't like it. Now we had some issues at Penn State trying to get recruits at that time. Anyway, we had scholarship limitations. It was a tough environment. He didn't like doing it. He's an NFL guy.
What do you think about someone like Brent Bielema?
Brett Bielema is at Illinois. He would be perfect.
Because it would get them back, take a step back, get more physical.
That is a name that I have not heard, only because he just got hired at Illinois. But I love it.
Yeah.
How about Lance Leipold from Kansas?
I love Lance Leipold. I mean, what he's doing in Kansas, they're off to a great start already. He turned around Buffalo.
He has Nebraska ties, too,
He's
as does
fixer.
Bielema, I think.
He's a fixer.
They both either played there, coached there at one point. 2 solid names.
Mm-hmm.
Let's throw out Matt Campbell's name.
That's another good one. I think what's going to hurt him, and I heard this yesterday, so I can't take credit for hearing this quote, but I guess last year he said it's not all about winning the national championship. I don't think that would sit well with the Cornhuskers if they played that on a loop.
Well, but maybe he meant for him.
Iowa State.
Yeah, and maybe he meant he's happy there, too.
And they're off to a good start.
Yeah.
They finally beat Kirk Ferentz. That's been the monkey on his back.
Yeah, so that is something we're going to be watching. And they don't have to go out and hire anybody.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're like USC last year. They're going to get a jump start on those candidates.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. By doing this now, they have ample time for a search committee. One name we won't hear, and I'm very thankful for it, is James Franklin. Every time
you know what I hate to say, though, if I was Trev Alberts, I'd call.
Oh, you'd make the call, but I think
it's
you
not
get
gonna
hung
happen.
up on.
Yeah, yes, you would. I think Trev may get hung up on by a lot of people, but we'll see. It's just a tough situation right now.
Very
and they're
tough.
going to have
Tenuous.
The next coach is going to have a lot of work to do. One more thing here, the offensive problems of Iowa. I'm going to bring that up with one of my picks this week, but it's bad.
This reminds me of the early 2000s with Joe Paterno and the cloud of dust offense. It's a stubbornness, no outside speed. I don't know how you fix it in season. That's the problem. Does Kirk take over play calling from his son?
I don't think it would be any better if he did. I think he needs to go out there, hire somebody else, go look at other ways to do it.
Do you remember
and rip the Band-Aid off.
Where they were sitting last year? They were in the top 5. What happened?
Well, but they were in the top 5. They were fake because they still didn't have an offense.
Right. The defense was elite.
Penn State was going to wipe the floor with them
Yep.
until Clifford got injured. So I think that's tough. Couple of quick notes here because we have to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Love them.
Did you love them defensively, though?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that part of the game. I loved what I saw in offense. Fast, explosive.
But you know what you didn't see? And I had to go back and check the stats on this. You didn't see Jalen Hurts throw 1 touchdown.
No, and I thought that was interesting, but I think he didn't even have to.
They ran the ball.
They ran the ball
Pounded
at ease. And A.J. Brown carrying guys as he's running down the field. I mean,
Physical.
we have not seen that since Terrell Owens, and that excites me because that is a total difference maker. I don't know what Tennessee was thinking.
Sirianni was just seems like he's got the right vibe right now.
And he's got the quiet confidence factor, I think, too. Whereas last year, the season got off to a rocky start. This year, he knows they can win. He knows their brand of football works. And a big part of that, Miles Sanders looks completely healthy, and he looks fast. So going back to that running game, he was just short of 100 yards, but he set up those pass plays, middle of the field. RPO type stuff. Loved it.
It was impressive. Now they are on Monday Night Football this
Yeah,
week.
tough matchup.
Tough matchup. We're going to talk about that, but real quick, the new Monday Night Football debuted on ABC. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman,
Right here.
Lisa Salters. There's a doubleheader this week. ABC's going to get the Eagles game, and they're going to be there. Doesn't it just feel different to have a big name booth there?
Now, I will say this much. I enjoyed not listening to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman during the Eagles game. You know my feelings about that. But I miss Al Michaels on Sunday nights. That was weird. And it was equally weird to see ABC, ESPN branding underneath
Joe and Troy.
Yeah.
I know you're not a huge fan, but my point still stands.
It feels big.
It feels like a big game,
Yeah,
right?
it feels like
the way it
America's
should.
Game of the Week on Fox.
Correct.
But now it's on ABC.
And it should be. It's Monday Night Football.
And I would love to see Monday Night Football be revived. I want to see that feel come
This
back.
is the start of it.
Right. And I hope they do it. And
Yeah.
I hope, ultimately, this is, again, our bias here coming out, but I hope it ends up on our network permanently.
I would agree. And I think there's
So
more.
whoever's listening out there, make that happen.
I think there's more of that to come. And again, we're going to be on ABC this week.
Yep.
Vikings, Eagles. We're going to pick that game and more, and I believe that is what it's time for right now.
So our games of the week.
Yes.
Let's run them down here.
All right, let's show you here. What do we got? The Chargers and the Chiefs. By the way, our odds are coming from Caesars Sportsbook, valid as of Wednesday.
Very important. These odds are valid as of this morning.
Yep. So L.A. Chargers and Chiefs, they are going to play on Thursday Night Football. The Chiefs are favored by 4 points. That's an interesting game. That's Al, Kirk, Kaylee Hartung. That's the launch of the Prime Video Thursday game of the week.
And I'm going to enjoy hearing Kirk more than once a week. And I never thought I would say that 10 years ago, but he has definitely grown on me, and I like his style.
And, I watched the preseason game. They quietly launched it. It felt like Sunday Night Football. It's a big production. It's a good production.
It's a good production. So that is a great game. We'll get into our picks later on with that. Penn State, Auburn on CBS.
Yep, 3:30. Big
Jordan
game.
Hare.
Penn State going to Jordan-Hare. And then we got to talk a little weather, too, because Michigan State, Washington, that's the game of the week on ABC Saturday Night Football. Washington's favored in that game, which is interesting. And the over-under's rather high at 56.5.
It's pretty high. I'm a little shocked by that. Maybe most of the scoring will come from the Spartan side of things.
And then two more. We pick about 5 games of the week that may or may not have weather associated with them. Bears, Packers, Sunday Night Football. Packers favored by double digits in this one. They looked sloppy.
They did.
And then
but now Aaron Rodgers is angry.
He is, which I may or may not have considered. Vikings and Eagles then. Monday Night Football, Joe, Troy.
Love that matchup.
That is going to be fun. Eagles home opener.
Home opener, very
Favored.
narrow margins here.
Yep.
And I think it could be a preview of things to come in the playoffs. We'll wait and see. But you were mentioning kind of the lack of weather here, Brett, and we kind of take Precision Cast out and show you the wide view. The only active zone, the Great Lakes and the Pacific Northwest, so we did choose some games there, and some typical run-of-the-mill thunderstorms toward the deep, deep south. I mean, we're talking about South Texas, southern Florida.
Yeah, there could be some issues at that Green Bay game, too, Sunday night.
We'll talk about that.
We're going to talk about that. But let's start at Kansas City.
It's going to be hot in the nation's midsection.
That's going to be the only weather there. They're going to have a pretty nice night. There could be some clouds late in the game, but 87. It's going to be around 80 at kickoff, and we can see this. I think there'll be some thin clouds to start. There's going to be some showers to the west, but I think they're going to stay dry at Arrowhead Stadium.
I think so, too. I think it stays off to the west, but again, hot, even humid at times during the game.
Yep.
Kansas City's used to it, but
Now,
the wind.
Yeah, the winds are going to be a factor here. There's a bit of a breeze coming from the south ahead of this front that's moving through. I could see a 10 to 20 mile an hour wind early in the game.
And that, not the biggest deal in the world. But,
especially for pros.
Right, and it might help cool things off a little bit. Just keep in mind, though, for the kicking game late, if this does end up being a close game between Herbert and Mahomes, could be a factor. There were a lot of missed kicks this past weekend.
Yes, sir. Now, Auburn, Penn State is Saturday. Again, no weather to speak of, but it is going to be hot, and I know James Franklin has tried to simulate that heated humidity at practice.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure
quite
he needs
get
to,
that.
though, because it was hot and humid here last week. But it's going to be nice on the plains, just hot, and Penn State, again, playing in hot weather at Purdue 2 weeks ago. Where we could have some issues, of course, is Seattle. Big surprise.
Yep.
They're going to be kind of showery. Now, the latest guidance indicates they may be drier than that, but there is going to be a sea breeze coming in. What
Yeah.
about temperatures?
So temperatures will be in the 60s in parts of the Pacific Northwest, where again, contrast there to the 80s to the south for Auburn. Nothing going on there. We're going to zoom up there and show you the cloud cover, the
That's
showers
kickoff,
around.
7:30.
Right. So kickoff 7:30, late night game for all of you staying up late.
But it does look fairly dry now.
It does look dry. Mist and drizzle.
Yeah.
I would still keep an eye on.
Always off the Puget Sound there. In terms of winds, I don't know that winds are going to be much of a factor. There may be a slight breeze at Jordan-Hare, but, Pinnaker
I know. It's scary.
was not great.
Now, James Franklin gave him a big boost of confidence, but some weird quotes came out of the press conference last night where, and I can't say his name, the very tall kicker, he'll remain nameless.
Yes,
Sadea, something like
Yes.
that. Something of the sort. I apologize. I can't pronounce his name.
We don't have it in front of us.
But-
Bad on us, but yep.
Franklin was weird saying that perhaps 52 yards or greater. It was very specific that Pinniger would basically be kicked to the curb for longer kicks in game-winning situations. So that's something to watch, and maybe that becomes more of a mainstay even at, say, 40, 45 yards, because I will admit I was not impressed with him in person. That 42-yarder that he missed was not good. But speaking of kicking game,
Yeah, Seattle.
northwest breeze in Seattle may keep things a little bit dry, but again, a little bit of a consistent wind there straight out of the north during that Saturday night matchup. So just something to keep your eye on there. Should not be a significant factor, but that is the strongest wind of the weekend.
It is, and of course, coming right off the sound there in Seattle. Kicker, Sander Sahidek.
Sahidek, okay.
Yep. Just-
When I say Zendaya, I think that's a singer.
Yeah. Not quite.
No, not quite.
We hope he sails it through the uprights. Now, Green Bay, again, they could have some showers or storms here late Sunday. This is actually going to be one to watch. Now, again, we're recording this on Wednesday. If you're listening later in the week, we want to keep an eye on this forecast because it could be a bit unsettled. It's also going to be warm. Look at the temperature. But that's the high.
Yep.
By Sunday evening in Green Bay,
It'll
it's
be
going to be in
cooling
the
off,
80s.
so let's show that.
And then some rain here as we move into...
And rain leading into the game, too.
Correct. So it could be kind of a slop fest that may favor a bit of a rushing attack in Green Bay Sunday night.
And again, winds not all that strong, but we have to watch those clusters of showers. Lightning could be an issue too, so just keep that in mind.
Could
I
that
don't
game
think
be delayed?
Yeah.
It's
Could
possible.
you imagine Aaron Rodgers' face if there's a lightning delay?
Imagine my face when I settle down and all these games get delayed and I just want to watch. So I'm not happy about that, but we're going to keep an eye on that. And then that same system is going to move across Pennsylvania on Monday.
And it's going to be close.
It's going to be close. I have a feeling the Eagles game is going to be okay, but we're talking about some potential showers here with temperatures in the 70s likely for kickoff.
And it'll likely be humid too.
Yeah, a little bit of an east wind too.
Right. So cloudier, certainly seeing some damper weather around Lincoln Financial Field. Just something to keep an eye on. Should not be a major factor, but it's still there.
It is still there, 100%. So something we're going to be watching closely play out. So now we get to our games of the week and our picks. Listen, I like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Love them.
I realize that it's going to be a bit breezy there on Thursday night. Great way for Prime to kick off their broadcasting of the NFL. I don't see any reason why the Chiefs don't cover this spread.
I totally agree. I think it actually could be much larger than 4 points.
The Chargers have done well recently at Arrowhead,
have.
but I like the Chiefs to cover here. I'm
And
going to lay the points.
Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback. So
No doubt.
if there's anyone that can go toe-to-toe with young Patrick Mahomes in that high-flying offense,
I just
perhaps
think
it's them.
they have more talent.
They do.
On the Chiefs.
And Andy Reid is a smart
You
offensive
know how
mind.
hard Arrowhead is, no matter what.
Yes.
So let's both get burned on that one, shall
Yeah,
we?
we'll see what happens.
Penn State at Auburn, 3:30. As you said, it's the CBS game this week. Brett and Dan both go at Penn State here.
They're riding too much momentum at this point, and if the whole Brian Harsin thing didn't happen, if this was more of a Gus Malzahn team, I love Gus, I'll just say that, I would be more concerned, but I think there's a lot going on in the background right now. It's not the same Auburn team we're accustomed to.
This could be their coming out party.
Yes,
could
I hope
be.
so. It
Well,
sort of
no,
was last year.
I mean Auburn.
Oh, I was going to say Penn State.
I mean Auburn, just because they're getting a big game at home.
Yep.
They're angry. This could be it. I do think, though, that Penn State just has actually, and this sounds weird, but has a little more talent.
I think so, too.
They just need to be able to stop the running game. You know what? If I'm Brian Harsin, I put on the Illinois game from last year, and I tell Tank Bigsby,
Let's do this.
go run.
Yep.
Go run wild. So it's a tight game. We're both going to pick Penn State, but like usual, not confident in that.
Yeah, I
On
think it's going to be
paper,
close to the end.
I think we're right, but you got to play the game.
And what I don't like about the line is it's a field goal.
Yeah.
And we just talked about the field goal issues. We'll see.
It's going to be a fun one. Michigan State, Washington. Washington revived, and I have to tell you, Washington was a program that was left for dead, especially after Sark left, and you kind of wondered when they were going to get their groove back.
Yeah,
They
Jimmy Lake
have-
last year. What was that?
Jimmy Lake, not great, not a great fit. Kalen DeBoer comes in from Fresno State. He doesn't have a lot of credentials, head coaching wise, but again, it's kind of about fit. He seems to have the program going. He also got transfer Michael Penix, who
We
know
a
from
lot
the
about.
Big Ten,
Yep.
coming in from Indiana. Looks to be just a better vibe up there.
I still think, though, Michigan State has a ton of talent. They're in the top 15. I don't think this is much of a contest. I really don't. I think Mel Tucker goes up to Seattle, takes his team in, and I think this is going to be a very strong season for Michigan State. I'm sticking with that concept.
Well, you picked them to win the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
which should probably have a side bet with you on that. But I have to tell you, I'm just going to go money line here. I think they're going to win outright. So I'm actually on them totally.
Yeah, you're on them.
You're going to take them.
I'll take the points.
You'll take the points, but I'm not sold on Mel Tucker's team this year, but I think they can go in there and do it. We're going to find out Saturday
We'll
night.
see.
All
It
right,
should be
next.
a fun matchup.
Again, weather could be an issue. Both games, Sunday night and Monday night football. Let's go here. You're taking the Packers and laying the points with the home team.
I think this is a game to get right for the Packers. I think the conditions had a lot to do with Chicago's success. Now, again, if rain is the big equalizer here, then perhaps this is closer than I think.
Yeah, I looked at the Packers last week and I thought something's off. They don't look good.
Something is.
That's a
appears
lot
to be
of
off.
points in the NFL.
It is.
10 points?
It is.
I'm going to take Chicago on the road. I'm going to take
I
the
just
10.
want to see if Chicago is for real. Go prove it to me in Lambeau Field.
We're gonna
Okay.
do it.
I'll take your word for it.
Now, in this one, we're opposite. This could be one for me to gain ground on. I like what the Eagles put together, but it was against the Lions.
Who could be a playoff team this year? Some of the experts, not us, are picking Detroit to be a surprise wild card team. Just keep that in mind. Not a Dan Campbell fan, huh?
No, I think he's great. Hard knocks,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. Sorry. Vikings, I think, are going to come in, and they looked impressive. Kirk Cousins just continues to he's one of those guys where he's not flashy, but he's there. He can win a lot of games.
Yes, I do agree with that.
I think they're going to come in, and they're going to bring the Eagles back down to earth a little bit.
And are you at all afraid of Jalen Rager on the other side of the field? Because I'm not. I hate to be mean.
So you're taking those Eagles.
I'm taking the Birds. I'm
Yeah.
taking A.J. Brown to go off again. I think Miles Sanders, again, could be an X factor here this season if he stays healthy.
All right. Well, those are our picks now. What is it time for?
It's time to go.
Under the radar.
It is, and this is one of those games each week, Dan, that we're going to try to talk about the weather, but there was a lot of weather, and it's kind of one of the games that not everybody's talking
Sure.
about. So we're going to try to do both, but in this case, there is no weather because
It's a
they're
dome.
playing in the dome,
Yep.
right? It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. I don't know what it is. What
It's
is
a
it?
sponsored something or other.
Yeah, the Verizon Dome. That's not right either.
Keystone or something like that.
The JMA Wireless Dome.
wireless. Whatever.
Whatever that is. Purdue at Syracuse. That's a noon kick, ESPN 2. It's a pick 'em.
It is a pick 'em.
And
I think this is going to be one of the games of the weekend.
it could be because you look at what Dino Babers has done in Syracuse. He has
Talk about culture.
he's got a quarterback in Garrett Schrader. He's got a running back in Sean Tucker. They're just going off up there. Nobody's talking about him because they haven't played anybody yet. But he's 2-0. We like Dino.
I do. I like him a lot.
We've had firsthand experience with Purdue. Jeff Brom's got a quarterback.
He
He's
does.
got Charlie Jones, the
O'Connell.
Iowa receiver, coming in from Iowa. Because you know what he did, Charlie Jones? He said, I'm going to look at Brian Ferentz's offense, and then I'm going to look at Purdue's offense.
I'm gonna jump
I
ship."
get to touch the ball if I'm at Purdue.
they throw the ball here. That's incredible.
I think this game could be really, really interesting. Now, the problem with Purdue is, and we saw this, they kind of gave away the game to Penn State. They don't really have a rushing game.
Well, and again, if they need to sit on a lead, I do worry about that.
Yes.
However, I think their passing attack makes the difference in a lot of their matchups this year. And I
Because
think
it's solid.
look at the landscape right now, the Big Ten West. What is out there? It's a wasteland. I mean, Iowa, Wisconsin, what's going on?
The only thing that, I mean, Minnesota, maybe.
Maybe,
Yeah,
but what about Purdue? What if they are the best of
Could
the
be.
West, and then that leadoff win for Penn State could
Looks
be
better.
huge.
But I do like Syracuse in this game. I will tell you when we go to our under the radar picks. I think they're going to win. Of course, it's a money line pick for us. There really is no line here. It's a pickup game. But you're going to go with the visiting Boilermakers.
I am. I like what they're doing. I thought they gave Penn State all they could handle. Maybe one of the hardest road games Penn State has this season. I kid you not.
Could be. I think this weekend, though, is not going to be easy either. But you're right. It was a tough game.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Here we go.
Time now for Brett's Best.
It's appropriate. We played a little circus music. Although, having said that, I went 3 for 3 last week.
Yes, you did. So maybe this is truly your wheelhouse.
You could chew on that a little bit there. Here's one: Nevada, Iowa.
How about Iowa?
How about Nevada? Nevada got beat up by Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
Do you even know where that is?
I do not, but I know their quarterback transferred out of Incarnate Word and now is in a D1 school. That's all I know about them.
Well, that's all you need to know. You also need to know they beat Nevada. And Nevada goes to Kinnick Stadium to play one of the most inept, most boring offenses. I would rather watch paint dry.
Did they just run the I formation every single play and run up the middle? Is that what
Fullback
they're doing?
dive. If I had to have anything that I'm confident in this week, take the under in this game.
Okay.
And by the way, the under, when I looked, it was 40 early in the week.
Wow.
It's now down to 39
I was going to say, that's got to keep dropping.
Guess what? It's one of the lowest over-unders I've seen.
Yeah, that still seems too high.
These odds coming from Caesars Sportbook, they're valid as of today.
Yep.
It's moving lower.
So that's a line to watch.
I'm still taking the under.
Okay.
Now, Miami, Texas A&M. This game, we've talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Cristobal got Miami back a little bit.
A little bit of energy there.
We don't know where they are for the year. They haven't played anybody.
Sure.
They have to go on the road to Kyle Field. This feels sneaky to me. And what I mean by that is Texas A&M has been hearing all week they're out, they're down.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jimbo's going to come out here and surprise everybody. Miami's not quite ready yet.
Yeah, they're not ready for prime time yet.
They're a 5.5-point favorite. I don't know if they can cover by a full touchdown. I don't know. I would bet them on the money line, though, and say I think they're going to win outright. I think they can come back and beat Miami. But if they don't,
big changes
we're
coming.
going to have a lot to talk about next week.
There's going to be a very, very hot seat there.
Finally, the Jets and the Browns. You can read more about this in the column online. The Browns are favored by 6. I'm laying those points all day. I say in the column, I don't care if you played quarterback. Dan Tommaso was. I would still pick the Browns.
What is wrong with the Jets?
They are awful. I'm not sure they're the worst team in the NFL. That may be the Texans, but the Texans tied last week, so I don't know that I could say that.
I just do not understand what's going on.
Kevin Stefanski, he's got Jacoby Brissett. They're at home. They're in Cleveland. Weather could be an issue in this game.
Yep. Some showers will be around in that game.
Some showers are going to be around. Favors at least somebody with some sort of an offense.
Nick Chubb of the Browns?
Yeah. I'm taking them to lay those points.
Okay. Now, you ready for our next sound
I'm ready
effect?
for you. Let's play it up. Let's do it.
It's Doppler Dandies.
Gotta love the little collegiate music here.
I like it.
I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
So where do you stand this week?
Well, okay. I think Oregon is overrated based on what we've seen so far.
They look like a fraud.
I think BYU, on the other hand, is on the rise, and I think this could be a huge season for BYU. I
Kalani Sitake
love them.
just goes in and beats Baylor.
Yeah,
Now, they were at home, but still.
right. But still, they're well heeled, as I like to say. I think BYU has an edge in this game. I don't understand the line, how Oregon's favorite. I guess because it's a home game, yada yada yada. But I don't see it. My favorite game this weekend, and I'll tell you why. The Roadrunners of UTSA, Jeff Traylor, love what they're doing down there. But Texas coming off a heartbreaker against Alabama. They should have won that game. Couple that with injuries for Texas. Quint Ewers out 4 to 6 weeks, I believe. Their backup quarterback has an ankle issue, uncertain if he will play. They could be down to their third-string quarterback.
Who does that sound like?
I know.
That's like Penn State.
I know. So, if there's any time for a little brother to beat big brother, this could be it.
Could be. Listen, I know your pick. I think you're pulling a little Corso there and
Not so fast, my friend.
revving up the crowd. You know what, though? I may like UTSA to keep it close because
Yeah.
Texas is – anytime somebody plays Alabama, the next week they always have a letdown.
Oh, it's a physical matchup.
Yep.
And again, you work and work and work toward that matchup, and then you lose a close game that you could have won. Has to have an effect on the locker room. Now, the other teams I like to watch here, and I like it because of speed. I'm a fan of speed on the field. I really like this game. Dolphins, Ravens. Dolphins look for real. They showed me something beating Bill Belichick fairly easily. Now, you talked about the issues with the Patriots.
Yeah, well, that's why I got that one right last
But
week because
between-
the Patriots have issues.
Yeah, but between Tua and that wide receiving core
Yeah.
now for the Miami Dolphins, wow.
But
Wow.
they have to come they have to come north, though.
I know. I agree. And again, could be cloudier, could be seeing a little bit of humid weather moving in by Sunday. Shouldn't be a huge factor, but Lamar Jackson, too, I don't understand why you don't take money that's handed to you, but that's a different story for another day.
We would.
I certainly would. Sign me up.
Yeah. All right, now we want to review all of our picks.
Final picks.
What a slate this week. It
Loaded.
kicks off Thursday night. We're both going Chiefs to lay those points at home.
Mm-hmm.
We're both going to go Penn State. That could be a tough pick, but we're going to take them, and we're going to take them to cover that 3-point
We
spread.
both like Michigan State.
Yep,
in
I'm going to
different
just
ways.
pick them straight up. You're going to take them +3, which means for those of you that are novices too, they don't need to win for you.
Correct.
If it's a 1-point game,
Right.
you win.
I think it's going to be close no matter what.
I think they're gonna win outright. You and I differ on the Bears-Packers game. You think Aaron Rodgers is going to be mad and come out Lambeau Field on a Sunday night and just light them up?
I think it's going to be a fairly easy win for the Packers. I could be wrong about that.
I'm going to take the Bears +10.
I like the Eagles in a very close game. You like the Vikings in a close game.
I do. That's going to be a fun one Monday
I think it's
night.
going to be fun.
That's going to be on ABC. We differ on Purdue and Syracuse.
Yep,
That's a
I'm
coin flip game.
Big fan of Purdue.
Yep.
I may be totally off base here. You might be onto something. You mentioned the Syracuse balanced attack. This could be a special season for the Qs.
My final picks, just to summarize then, Nevada, Iowa, take the under, the way under, baby. Texas A&M, money line pick there. Jimbo's going to get it together, maybe.
Maybe.
And then the Browns, I'll lay the 6 for you.
Yeah, I'll take BYU. I take
Going into
BYU all
UG.
day. Yeah.
Okay.
And I like Texas, although, again, this could be an upset. You know, you got to look across the board and see upsets throughout the week. You just keep an eye on UTSA. Don't be surprised, and then all of a sudden Sark could be in a lot of trouble.
But you're picking Texas to win
I am
outright.
picking them to win,
Yeah,
but
okay.
don't be surprised if that ends up being a very good game. And I picked the Dolphins on the road to go into the Ravens
At least
and
keep it
spoil the
close.
party. It's going to be very close.
Closer than the experts think, although
Yes.
it's a field goal game anyway. Now, couple of things. We're going to check in, friendly wager time. Pie in the face on the line.
Yes.
I have some catching up to do. We have some differences. We don't talk about our picks before we come on.
That's correct. We don't see them. We don't talk about them. I think this is an opportunity for you to make up ground.
Yep.
If I start going wrong on things. But I feel better this week than I did last week. And again, the more games I watch, the more I can see in person,
The
all
more
better.
we can diagnose these things.
Right.
And check it out. Weather in Seattle this weekend. It looks like Lambeau could have some issues. Maybe at that Baltimore-Miami game.
Maybe Philly too.
Yeah, and I think the Kansas City game Thursday night could have some wind to it. That's
Yes.
one of the ones that if that thing is close and comes down to a field goal, look out. You
Yep.
never know what could happen.
And again, you saw it this weekend. I mean, that game between Cincinnati and the Steelers, while it was bad football for a lot of it, you saw everything that could go wrong.
I saw a lot of people, they didn't want to give the weather any credit for Chicago's win. They did want to say the 49ers blew it. And that may be true, but the weather had an impact, folks.
Oh, for sure, because the 49ers are the better team. Let's face it.
We always want to, before we end, we are going to talk about the baseball playoffs. The Phillies are still in right now.
And they're looking like they're hitting their stride. Bryce
Did they
Harper
win?
seems to
have
be
they,
hitting
have
again.
they been beating the Marlins?
Yes.
Where do we head next?
So the Braves are this upcoming weekend. Tough series. The Braves have a lot to play for because they're nipping at the Mets' heels. This could be the best race in baseball between two very good teams, the Mets and the Braves. Who
I have
finishes
long
first?
stated I think it's the best division in baseball. I could
think
be
so,
wrong.
too.
You do have the Dodgers division, but I think that fight, though,
The
is
Phillies
just,
are 17 games over 500, which I never would have thought coming into the season. I thought they'd make the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be this good.
Yep.
However, Being 17 games over 500, they're 10 games back of first place. That is a strong division.
It's a very strong division because the Braves don't lose anymore.
Correct.
The Mets are still winning enough.
Right.
Do you think this team is built, though, to make a run here late in this year? Because, again, I worry about the pitching.
I worry about the pitching if Zach Wheeler doesn't come back. He is the X factor. He could be fresh coming back. Sir Anthony Dominguez looks good in the back of the bullpen.
He does look good.
So, if it's coming together at the right time, it's all about when you gel, when you get hot.
How much fun is postseason baseball, especially when there is weather?
Well, last time I saw postseason baseball was 2011. I was still in my college dorm room, which shows you how long ago that was.
Yeah. I think if your team isn't in it, postseason baseball, it's tough. Unless it's some real big names, big teams.
But I want the chance. I have said this over the last 5 or 6 years. I want to see the Phillies go out, spend more money, tip the scales a little bit, and give us a chance.
If they get in, they keep Rob.
I think so. I think he's earned it. I mean, to turn around the team so much.
17 games over 500.
I know, and I think he took them over when they were 6 under.
I mean, it was early, but it was early. It felt late.
And the team responded. The team seems to like him. And keep in mind, a lot of money comes off the books here this winter. There's a lot of talk about Trey Turner coming to Philly, which would be a lot of fun up the middle.
You're always keeping your eye on the money, but that's where it's at.
Because you got to follow it.
Got to follow it. That is a wrap, I think, for us this week. Do we have anything else to add here?
I don't think so. I just want to remind everyone where you can find us. Again, our write-ups, abc27.com. You can also follow our individual Facebook and Twitter pages for more ABC27 news on YouTube.
Here.
Look at that Bible this man wrote.
Yeah, and you're not far behind. So you get the write-ups on abc27.com. Apple, Spotify, Amazon,
it's all
Google.
there.
Google's there, too, now. They came on.
Why don't you sign us off?
I guess that's all right. Good luck.
Yes, good luck to you, too.
It's going to be a fun week.
Enjoy football, everybody.
Enjoy football. We're going to be talking about
We're
it
hitting
online.
our stride.
Give your Twitter. We need to give our handles.
Yes, at Doppler Dan.
And I'm at Brett Thack, ABC27. You can find us. We hope to see you soon. That is Weather Wagers Week 4. We will see you again next week. Take us out.